Thanks, everyone. Welcome to Be Green with Amy. I'm Amy. After adopting a whole food plant-based lifestyle, my hubby Rick and I lost over 130 pounds. Now I coach others on their plant-based journey. Just Task Voice. Let's welcome our guest.
At almost 70 years young, Allard, a certified holistic health coach, will share her remarkable journey from battling decades of dieting to achieving vibrant health through whole food plant-based living. Stay tuned as she inspires us with her story and tantalizes our taste buds with a live recipe demo. Please click like to help Be Green with Amy. Welcome, Allard.
I just have always been part of the diet culture. And when I look back at pictures of myself, all those years, starting in my early 20s, I don't know who I saw, but it doesn't matter because I believed my self-image was that of somebody who always needed to be on a diet. And I think that was just sort of the thing. We should always be on a diet. And so really for most of my life, except for when I was pregnant 2 times, I was just always feeling like I needed to be on a diet. In retrospect, that really wasn't accurate until the truth of the matter is until I met my husband. And that was we really started dating in April of 2016. And prior to that, I was a student at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And for the next few years after I finished that program in 2012, I was experimenting, flirting with a vegan diet. And I didn't really know any better. And I didn't even know there was such a thing as whole food plant-based. I just knew I was trying to be vegan. And I sort of flirted. I wasn't 100% committed. I dipped my toes in and out of it. And then when I met my husband, he was a standard American diet eater, and he was thin and never needed to even talk about dieting. And so I started eating the way he ate, back to how I really ate as a child, which is meat and potatoes, chicken and rice, chicken and spaghetti, you name it. It was just the standard American diet. Lots of cheese, lots of oil, lots of what I now know are foods that are very inflammatory. And before you know it, took about 3 years. I had put on almost 25 pounds, and I'm little. I think you are too. I'm 5'3" and shrinking. I'm really more like 5'2". And that 25 pounds, it showed, and B, I had to buy all new clothes, but I was happy. So it was a conundrum because I had fallen in love, and I just didn't even think about dieting until all of a sudden one day I woke up and said, okay, well, this is not going to work, because I didn't want to continue gaining weight. Not only that, I wanted to lose the weight. So I tried every diet known to humankind. I owned every diet book. I don't want to name them because I don't want to discriminate other people who have maybe tried them. But let's just say I counted points. I measured portions. I tried, every possible way I could to lose the weight. And I was modestly, and I really emphasize that word, modestly successful.
Yeah.
I was, but at the risk of, I was hungry all the time. I was starving all the time. And I just knew that was not sustainable. And I can't remember, I wish I could, what led me to find Chef AJ and calorie density, but that was the turning point for me. And I had already lost a few of those 25 pounds, but I almost 15, but I wasn't happy. And so I knew I needed to find something different that would last me the rest of my life. Thank goodness I found Chef AJ. And, yes, is that Esther?
Yes, that is.
I am absolutely addicted to her Facebook.
Great. She has a great story too. She really
follow
does.
her like crazy because I just am so enamored with her attitude and her. There he is, the man I fell in love with. And so anyway, what ended up happening was I discovered calorie density, and I discovered whole food plant-based eating, and life was completely different from that point on. And I ate massive, voluminous portions. I was never hungry, and I lost the weight. And there was a pattern. I would lose a pound, I would gain it back. I would lose 2 pounds, I would gain 1 back. And it went like that. It was kind of like a, like this, until I got to where I am now. And I've been here for a couple of years. And the other magnificent thing that changed for me is that I used to be addicted to weighing myself daily.
Yeah. Yeah.
Daily.
Mhm.
And about 6 months ago, I realized, like, I woke up one day and went, oh, I haven't weighed myself in like months. I just stopped weighing myself. I don't need to weigh myself. And
Right.
like maybe once a week, once a month or so, I'll weigh myself, but I don't really need to, because whatever it is I'm doing, it's worked. And I have stayed at this constant weight. I will be thoroughly honest, and I'm sure that listeners and you also have experienced this. I don't have a lot of support from family. I mean, I have support in that they respect my wishes.
Yeah.
But, I think basically they think I've lost my mind. But the thing is, that's okay. You can think whatever you want, but I'm going to go to the restaurants and ask the questions. I'm going to research before I go to the restaurant. I, quite honestly, don't even love going out to eat anymore. I would much rather eat it. My food is more delicious.
Yes.
So anyway, so that's my story. And I decided to hang out a shingle, and I have grown my Instagram page to over 5,000 followers. And now I'm working on, I'm trying to get to the YouTube place where I have more followers. But in the meantime, my goal really is, if I can help one person,
Yes,
then I will have done my job. And I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm mostly retired from my other work, but I was, and still am to some extent, a touring musician.
Oh, and you play what instrument or instruments do you?
Many, but
Yeah.
my specialty is music for young children. And so I traveled all over the country and performed concerts. And that was challenging in and of itself. And that helped me to learn to ask questions and to not worry what my dining partners thought. I did what I had to do. So anyway, so that's really my story, and I'm sticking to it.
You are sticking to it, and you're very successful. It's so nice to hear how you began, and then the journey, and then where you are now. For some people, they may be encountering beginning and not thinking that they could possibly see at the other side where it is, where you
Right.
can just be comfortable in your own skin. And
Right.
yeah, there's people that aren't on board, but it's not a big deal. That this doesn't happen overnight, right?
Mm-mm. It is a
Yeah.
journey, that is for sure. I have a lot of experiences where I would cry. I'd come home and cry and feel like the loner. But I've had so much success with this now that I kind of want to stand on top of the roof and just shout. I do, and I try really not to preach. If anybody,
Yeah.
I don't tell people unless they ask me. And
Mhm.
then I'll tell them, the usual, where do you get your protein? And I thought olive oil was healthy. Those are sort of the two main ones that I get all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And it is for somebody, I mean, I've been doing it since 2012. And when you've been doing it for this long and it's been sustainable and successful, you just want to tell everybody about it.
Right.
But you have to kind of go gently, because I keep trying to remind myself, I don't want anybody telling me how to eat.
Right.
So I have to think about that when I'm talking to people. And I usually don't really talk about it unless somebody asks. Yeah. And I
Right.
think it's better
Right.
that way.
I've learned also, when you're sort of first starting out and realizing the success of eating this way and living this way, when people ask you, like dining partners, friends, family, I had the tendency to want to, well, let me tell you why, and just, cite a whole list of reasons. But now I just say, this is what makes me feel good.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good answer. And some people are looking for, what do I say?
Right.
And
Right.
I've been a fan of Dr. Lyle. Have you listened to him? He has very casual answers for things. When people say, where do you get your protein? He'll say, I don't know.
Yeah. It's a hard one.
But I guess it's working. I don't know.
Absolutely. I also forgot to mention to you that part of my nutritional journey, my food journey, was that I was diagnosed with celiac disease in 2005. My hair was falling out and nobody could figure it out. The dermatologist couldn't figure it out. And I did a lot of digging and found some supportive evidence that showed that gluten can be involved in autoimmune diseases. So that's when I called my doctor, my internist, and said, hey, listen, I don't think I have stomach issues, but my sister, by the way, because I called my sister up and I said, don't you have something like where you can't eat gluten? Because she lived in Florida. We saw each other once a year, but it just like, she didn't make a big deal of it. So I didn't really know about it, but I knew she had something. So when she told me she had celiac, I called my doctor and said, so I understand that celiac is hereditary and I don't really have stomach issues that I'm aware of, but I do have alopecia and I wondered if you could do the panel blood. And that was it. She did the blood test and she wrote me a form letter and said, you have celiac disease. So you have to go gluten-free. So, and my hair started to grow back. It took a while. I still have some right here. You can't tell. It looks bad. I know it's there. I still have some hair loss here, but nothing that I don't need to worry about it right now. And I hope, God willing, I'm going to knock on wood, never. But so that was one thing. And the other thing too, I wanted to mention is that I had daily, terrible heartburn all the time.
Were you doing any over-the-counter things?
Oh yeah, I was doing it all. And, you know, and then when I started this way of eating, gone. No more. So
yeah.
So
even if just for those things, you know, the weight loss is just a bonus.
Right, exactly. And it really is, because there are so many other bonuses, so many other benefits. And I grow. I think that it's important to always be open to growing and learning and evolving. And just so for example, one of the things that I started doing quite recently is I started doing a 1-minute meditation before I eat. And I even have a little sign. It's over there on my table. I'm going to go grab it and show it.
Go and grab it. And Ellen, for those of you just joining us, Ellen is also going to be doing a recipe demo coming up next. So I'm really excited about that too.
So I have this on my table right where I have all the condiments. And I look at that and then I go to my phone and I set the timer for a minute. And my husband already knows, he's cool about it. And I just take my hands, I put them on the table, close my eyes, and I breathe. And I just do it until the timer goes off for 1 minute. And that helps what's called the rest and digest stage. You know, we have digestive enzymes in our mouth. And they start kind of like going to town and going to work, even when we start thinking about food. And then when we see the food, they go to town even more. And when we eat the food, then they're in full, they're full bore, they're working. Yeah. So when you digest your food, you don't want to be crazed. You don't want to be stressed. You don't want to be rushing. You want to be calm so that you can digest it. So this rest and digest is what I do when I'm doing that 1 minute of meditation before each meal.
It is so important. I've never done this, but apparently a lot of people will eat over the sink. I don't know what it is about the sink, but standing, in other words, standing, you know, and I agree. I eat with my husband, so we just hold hands and we talk about how we're grateful for whatever it is that we're eating, and also things about the world. And it doesn't have to be a religious thing. It can just be the gratitude, and it really just kind of resets you. And as you were talking about that your digestion does begin in your mouth, and so many people just scoff down the food. You have to chew your food, right?
Chew it until it's masticated to baby food. That's another thing that I do also. And like, just as an example, last night, I remember when I did it, and I don't know that I've noticed this before, but last night I noticed while I was breathing and the food was right, on the table in front of me, I started to notice the smells. And maybe if you sit down and pick up your fork and you might not even notice that, but that helped me to be grateful for the delicious smells and the food that I knew I was about to dig into.
Yeah. It does. It just makes you more aware of so many things in all of your senses. Jesus Junkie says, or a 1-minute prayer. Exactly.
Exactly.
Just whatever it is to kind of calm your mind and
Right.
reset things. And the gratitude is, I think, is so important. Absolutely. Yeah. And one thing that I was thinking about when you were talking about the aversions to wheat and so forth, and Colleen just brought this up. She said, did anyone, if we can find it, did anyone consider it's the glyphosate sprayed on the wheat and not the wheat itself that is causing the problem? GMOs kill all the good bacteria in your gut. Would be an interesting discussion. I just wanted to add in that I know of people that were intolerant to gluten,
Mm-hmm.
and they went to Europe and to France, and they said, "Oh, I have got to have this croissant," even though they were not imbibing in anything that had any kind of flour. And they were so surprised that
Right.
it didn't bother them over there,
Right.
you know? So
Right.
I don't know if you've
Yeah.
heard of
My
that.
the sister that was diagnosed with celiac before me, when she goes to Europe, which she and her husband travel there frequently, she eats gluten all the time, and
Ah,
she's fine. And over here,
mm,
not at all. So, I
yeah.
mean, I've been to England, but
Mhm.
not to the rest of Europe. So I haven't really tested out that theory, but
Yeah.
yeah. And so Colleen, I would not be surprised if that had something to do with it. And who wants to eat glyphosate anyway?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Which makes you think, okay, even if I don't have celiac, maybe just because you're not aware of symptoms and the things that are happening to your body, that doesn't mean that things aren't happening, you
Right.
know? So
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
for me, I have not, I've avoided it because of this reason that Colleen was talking about. I don't
Yeah.
have any issues with it other than I don't want to take a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's just a lot of different steps along the way where I'm still learning. Like I said, I just started the meditating like a month ago. So
Yeah. And for my husband, he thought that he was getting arthritis in the past couple of years. And then, he did an elimination diet, not a real strict one, but he did. And he realized that whenever he has gluten, he feels like
mhm,
arthritis in his knuckles.
mhm,
So he doesn't have it, because I was not having it at all, and he was having it occasionally.
mhm.
And so it can react to, this is something that people who are watching might consider, just because,
Yeah.
you don't think you're glucose intolerant, it could be affecting you in other ways. So, yeah.
Before we go on, I neglected to say thank you to you for having me on your show. I have been
Oh,
so looking forward to this. So
yeah.
thank you.
I have been also. Yep. I like to watch you on social media, and you are a real star, and we are just so privileged to have you here. And you're so knowledgeable. You have a wonderful story to tell, and you also cook, and you're going to be doing that in just a little bit. You're going to be
Yes.
doing a cooking demo for us, and I'm really excited about that too. So I wanted to see if that we had any more questions. Okay, so Mikiel, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, said, "Have you ever been on a water fast? What are some good ways to ease into a water fast? I was told to eat more nutrient dense foods."
I have never done a water fast. Uh, I'm not opposed to it, but I like to eat. So maybe
Yeah.
that's part of the reason why I haven't done one. There have been times where I've been ill. I had COVID about 6 weeks ago, and I probably was on a water fast, but didn't really
Right.
even know it, because I was not interested in food. And so I don't know. I do know that there's a True North
Hmm.
center in California where they do supervised water fasts, and quite a number of our colleagues have done it, and done it with a lot of success. So I would definitely say look into it and see if that's something that would work for you. And then in terms of eating more nutrient dense foods, bingo, you just hit the nail on the head. That, when I eat, I'm always thinking, not in the olden days, I would think, oh, I wonder if this is going to help me lose weight. So
Yeah.
now what I think about is, how many nutrients am I getting with this food? It's a different,
Exactly.
right? Different mindset.
Yes, it really is. And I wanted to say that, of course, for everybody that's listening and watching, water fasting is serious business. And the experts say that you really shouldn't do it for more than a day without supervision.
Right.
And when you do it, you're not just supposed to drink water, but you're supposed to rest.
Right.
Because your body can't be active and detox at the same time.
Right.
So you're supposed to rest, meditate, or whatever it is, and just do minimal movements.
Right.
But yeah, True North, I haven't been there, but it's something I would love to do. And Dr. Frank Sabatino, he also does supervision. There's a few other places as well, but all of them have said, and I've interviewed Dr. Sabatino and Alan Goldhammer, and they all say that if you do decide to do a water fast, it will be so much easier if at least a week before you go 100% whole food, plant-based, no processed food, just totally clean eating.
Right.
And it'll be a much more pleasant experience. And he can always, Dr. Goldhammer says he can always tell if somebody didn't do that, because that's what they instruct people to do. If they didn't do it, he can tell that the experience, their detox, in other words, you're detoxing even more. So that would be my 2 cents as far as that go, even though neither one of us are medical doctors, so we're not giving medical advice.
No medical advice. I'm planning on running my first official 10-day whole food, plant-based, gluten-free, oil-free fast. Not fast, I'm sorry. Just like a challenge. So I haven't nailed down the date yet. It's going to be sometime in September or October. So if anybody's interested, please either email me at ellenshealthykitchen.com, or you can message me on Instagram if you want, and I'll give you information so that you can get onto my email list.
Yeah. And we will have all that information in the show notes as well. So this way people can have something that they can just directly click on it. And Jesus Junkie said, I water fast once a week. Wow. Yeah. I think I'm in the Love to Eat Club with Ellen.
Yeah. But, good for you, Jesus Junkie. If that's something that we have to all find our path and find what works for us. And if fasting once a week does it for you and it really makes you feel good, health-wise, then I say go for it.
Yeah, yeah. But now there are people that do intermittent fasting where they just close the amount of time that they're eating, their eating window, and they just make sure that they're having their breakfast and ending with their dinner in a shorter period of time. So that's something that other people like to do.
I will say this. One of the things, and again, this is a new experience for me, this idea of listening, paying really close attention to what I've heard is called your hunger fullness cues. And when you've been dieting your whole life or a lot of your life and you're hungry all the time, usually that hunger, I used to go from like 0 to like 100. I would be okay. And then all of a sudden I would eat, the spoon. I mean, I'd be so hungry. I don't get like that anymore. My blood sugar must be much more, it's just much more stable. And so it's hard to let go of the, I'd like to know actually in the comments if anybody experiences this. It's hard to let go of the breakfast, lunch, dinner, maybe some snacks. I am trying to actually help myself change that language to be first meal. Some people call it feeding, but that sounds too much like eating out. I just do first meal. Like, for example, today I went to the gym and I did a really rigorous workout. And when I got home, I said, wow, I'm really hungry. And so I ate my usual, which I always have, a bowl of oatmeal. And, I haven't really been very hungry. I was like maybe a tad hungry before we started, maybe about 90 minutes ago. And so I had a piece of cold corn on the cob. But I'm not that hungry. Now, when we finish, I'll probably eat whatever it is that I'm going to make. And I'll have that as a little bit of a snack before we actually have dinner in a few hours. So listening to your hunger fullness cues and making sure that you don't go from 0 to 100, that you learn to read your cues.
Yeah. I think before I adopted this lifestyle, I went from 0 to 100. And it was like every 2 or 3 hours, I would be shaky and cranky and not able to concentrate. And, and now we know that that's well, Dr. Joel Furman coined the term toxic hunger.
Right.
And it's not really true hunger. It's you just detoxing, and now you need another fix of that food that's deleterious to your health.
Exactly.
So now, when you adopted this lifestyle, you went, because there's different camps of whole food plant-based, right? So when I did with Dr. Joel Furman, and that was the nutritarian camp, where it's G-bombs, greens, beans, mushrooms, onions, berries, and seeds, and the importance of, and no oil, of course, but the importance of, or sugar or salt, but the importance of having those leafy greens and berries, that they were very nutrient dense, very important to have the mushrooms and all those things. So now tell us where you came about doing this, and as far as how does that influence what you're doing now?
I think that I am a amalgam, a combination of what I call the biggies, the people who have my mentors. They might not know me, but I know them, so Joel Furman, and I have all those books, and I'm very happy with all those books. So Dr. Joel Furman, Dr. Michael Greger, Chef AJ, who else?
Dr. Clapper.
Yes, Dr. Clapper.
Mm-hmm.
I read the China Study, Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Esselstyn, all of those people. I've read them all multiple times. I've watched multiple videos, and I think I'm a real hybrid of all of them. And I eat absolutely no oil. The only oil, I guess you could maybe say, is in the tahini, but I don't even have that much of the tahini.
Mm-hmm.
But I eat no oil. I am not salt-free. I do use salt. And I believe that for me, I don't have heart disease, even though it was in my family, but I'm very healthy. I'm going to be 70 in December, and I'm not on any medication, never have been. And so I do have salt. I don't eat a lot of sugar. I mostly, if something has sugar in it and the rest of it seems okay, I will eat it. I'm not going to turn it away, but I don't go out and look for it. I try to have date syrup. If not, I'll have a little bit of maple syrup, but I monitor that as well, because I think that, you could easily pour a lot of maple syrup on my oatmeal. So anyway, to answer your question, I think I'm just a mixture of a lot of them.
Yeah, I am too. And what I learned from Dr. Furman was that salt is not just something to worry about for hypertension, but also for cancer. And there's so many other things that we're just not meant to have as much.
Right.
In he allows for, of course, salt is naturally occurring in all of our plant food, but he allows for 300 milligrams additional every day. So that's where I try to keep it, so that if I'm adding anything in. But,
I would imagine. I also try to use, if a recipe calls for salt, I try to use miso instead, which is a fermented, and I think falls under the category of a healthy food. And, speaking of salt, one of the things that I wanted to show people is how important it is to read labels.
Oh, yes. We just had Sid Notter. She talked about reading labels.
And you just need to learn how to do it. Google it, learn it, get it into your vocabulary. Just to compare sodium, here is Trader Joe's Salsa Authentica. The sodium for 2 tablespoons is 250 milligrams. Now let's look at this one. I got it at Aldi's. It's 2 tablespoons. The sodium is 130.
Yeah.
Almost half the amount of sodium in this. So which one are you going to pick, right?
Exactly.
Now I'm not going to throw this out. I will use it, but I might do things like I might even mix some of this into this, or I might take this and stretch it by adding, where are they? Oh, here they are. I might just add, instead of having the usual amount of salsa, I might have half of it and add tomatoes to it. So, but the point is, I do think it's really, really important to read labels.
And what I have learned is that you have to keep reading the labels, even of the foods that you think are that, because you've already studied the label, because so many times the manufacturers change formulations.
Right.
And I've been disappointed with that sometimes. So,
I think I probably spend more time reading labels than in the supermarket than actually putting things in my basket.
Yeah. Yeah. But of course, it's probably best if you just eat things that don't have labels, and then
Right.
you wouldn't even have to worry about it, because
Exactly.
there are some ingredients that are in these foods that have labels, and the companies that produce them do not have to reveal these ingredients.
Right. Right. They're sneaky little devils, those manufacturers. And another thing I would say is I think that it's important to not go off the deep end.
Yeah.
If you have heart disease, if you have, if you're diagnosed with something, that's a different story. But if you just simply want to improve your health, you want to eat whole food, plant-based, read labels, and just don't be, I personally think, and other people might disagree with me, but I don't want to be a slave to it, because I want to also enjoy my life. And if I have something that has a little bit more sodium than I maybe should or could have, okay, so the next day, I know it, because the next day I wake up and I'm thirsty when I wake up in the morning, so I just think that we have to, I believe in moderation. For me, that's what works. Otherwise, if it's too strict, I won't stick to it.
Right. And that does apply to some people, that if there's, and I think though, the longer that you're doing this, the more naturally it just comes to you.
Right.
And then, you don't even things that used to be bother you because what am I going to do? I can't live without this particular thing. And now my husband and I were watching a commercial that came on for some Food Network kind of recipe chef thing or whatever. And the guy, it was beautiful. He had corn of cob and it was in the husk. And he showed how you can, he grilled it, but he put it in the husk and grilled it so that this way, then he peeled the husk off later. And it was beautiful. And then he started slathering on butter and pouring, the like kosher salt, so you could see,
Right.
and my husband is a foodie, which I never even thought he would adopt this lifestyle, much less stay on it for over a decade. And when that cook picked up that corn and he went and took a bite, even my husband was like, oh where, over a decade ago, we just said, oh, maybe we'll make that. It looks good.
Yeah, exactly.
So you just change and be patient with yourself, and any change in the right direction is a wonderful thing. So,
and it just takes time also for your taste buds to learn a new language.
Yep.
There was a time when I would have slathered my corn with butter, but now, like last night, most of the time, 90% of the time, I have it naked, just nothing, and I taste the sweetness of the corn. Last night, I decided to try something different. I put some fresh lime juice on it, and then I put some chili powder on it. It was delicious. You don't need. We're just so brainwashed into thinking we need the oil and the butter. You don't.
Absolutely, yeah. Because we just shouted at the TV, "You're ruining the corn."
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Well, I wanted to see if we had any other questions. And we also are going to be playing our game of true or false coming up too. So do you want to do that while you're cooking, or do you want to do it before? What do you want to do?
Let's do it before.
Okay, well then why don't we just go into our game then?
It's time for True or False on Be Green with Amy Live. Answer true or false to Amy's questions in the comments below, and Amy will ask our guest for the expert answer.
I just love that music that Jess Tass Voice puts on there. So got to have a little fun. Okay, so Ellen's going to be making a really wonderful recipe for us that incorporates potatoes. So we're going to be talking about them with our game. So the first question, Green Warrior, type in your answer. Potatoes, true or false? Potatoes can be eaten more than once a day. Okay. Tell us what you think. All right, Ellen, let's talk about potatoes.
So I give my answer, right?
Yeah.
Potatoes can be eaten more than once a day. Yes, yes, yes. Capital Y, capital E, capital S.
Yay. Yep, and it looks like we have some other people that are agreeing with us. Yes, yes. Isn't that nice to know? But of course, just like I was talking about the corn, you can eat them more than once a day, but don't go slathering butter and sour cream and things like that on it. We're talking about plain potatoes, right? Okay. So I just wanted to bring that up before we went on. Okay. True or false? Potatoes make you gain weight. What do you think, Green Warriors? Okay, they're typing in their answers. All right, Ellen.
No, capital N, capital O. It depends on, if you slather them with butter and sour cream, then you're going to gain some weight. But no, my goodness gracious. There are some days that I eat potatoes 3 times a day. Here's the cool thing about this way of this lifestyle. I don't think about it. There's rules are like out the window. If I want to have hash browns for breakfast, I do. If I want to have potato nachos for lunch and then leftovers for dinner, I do. I do make sure, however, that I have lots and lots of non-starchy vegetables. And that for me has been a game changer. This morning, before I had my oatmeal, I had a salad. Leftover salad from last night, and I made a new dressing. I'm so excited. I tried a new sort of concoction, and it was delicious.
Yeah, I think that's a real secret because a lot of people are doing starch-based diets, and especially if they're trying to lose weight. And I think one of the secrets is to have those greens.
Yeah.
And to eat them before, like you just said, eat them before you're eating the meal so that they kind of fill you up.
Right. My aim is to have, I don't measure it anymore, but there was a time when I really was trying to eat 2 pounds of vegetables a day. But now my eyes tell me, and every single meal that I have, I say to myself, where are my non-starchies? How am I going to get my vegetables? This morning, my oatmeal had a half a cup of rolled oats, a cup and a quarter of water, and 6 tablespoons of riced cauliflower.
Yeah, see, that was a good way to get them in.
And that was after I had the salad.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's see. Okay, another question here. True or false, potatoes are as calorie dense as olive oil. Okay. Go ahead. Tell us.
Is no. Olive oil is 4,000 calories a pound, and potatoes are in the under 600. I don't know. I think they're about 400, but they're to the left of the red line in the calorie density, or underneath, right?
Yes. So I just wanted to put up this
400.
calorie density.
I'm so proud of myself. I was right.
You passed the test. Good job.
So yeah.
Yeah. For those of you that aren't familiar with this is called the calorie density chart, and Jeff Novick introduced it, and Chef AJ also did her version of it. But it kind of gives you an idea of where your food is as far as the amount of calories it has. And they've done studies in populations that are not overweight. And the populations around the world that are not overweight have eaten foods that are no more than 600 calories a pound. Of course, though, if you want to lose weight, sometimes you might have to go even less down there. So, but definitely if you've maintained your weight, you won't gain weight as long as you stay under 600. So you can screenshot that if you want to. But that's another useful tool, especially in the beginning. You didn't know about how many, you weren't sure, but you were correct, but you knew that where they were on that chart, and you knew that they were going to be something that you can include.
There was a time where I wouldn't eat rice because it was fattening,
Yeah.
I eat a lot of rice, a lot.
Yeah. It's true. And everything that we learned is kind of turned on its head. The things that we were taught that were healthy, like dairy and oil, are actually deleterious to our health. And the things that we were taught that were weight gain promoting, like potatoes and starches and carbs.
It's crazy.
Right? So everything's kind of turned around. And so it's always always nice to see the calorie density chart. Now, I have one, and I was going to go over it with you before the broadcast, but we were doing other things. And so you don't have to answer it if it's not something that you feel comfortable talking about. But I'm going to put it out there for everybody. So true or false, Green Warriors, potatoes that are cooked and then cooled can add in weight loss by increasing the amount of resistant starch, which helps you feel fuller longer. And the reason why I put this up was because this is going to be part of Ellen's recipe, that in her instructions for the recipe, as far as the method of cooking the potatoes. So
Right.
Green Warriors, you type in your guess for that. And now, if you don't feel comfortable answering that, Ellen, I'll just go ahead.
Well, it is true.
Mhm.
I'm at a place in my weight loss or weight maintenance journey where I don't have that concern.
Yes.
So for me, it's not something that I do. I mean, sometimes I do. This past week, I cooked potatoes, and then when they reach room temp, I put them in the fridge. But for this today, what I'm showing you, I didn't do that. So, but yes, the answer is yes. They create resistant starch. They bypass the small intestine, is my understanding, and they go into the large intestine. And and the other thing I will add to this, which is kind of in a way related, is that, there's a difference between dry starches and wet starches.
Oh, yes.
Right. So that's a whole other subject. So
Mhm.
when you air fry potatoes, you make them more calorie dense, right? Because they don't have the water in them.
Yeah.
When you eat potatoes that are boiled, for example, or boiled especially, or microwaved, they are more, I think, more resistant starch because the water and the water is still in there. And we want to eat as much water as want to have foods that, like vegetables, for example, have a lot of water in them.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so, especially if you're looking to promote weight loss, you want to stay away from the dry starches and only have the wet ones. And that's absolutely something that it's another little hack that
Right.
people don't know about. So,
Exactly.
yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, I think we should get started with your recipe demo. What do you think?
I think so. I'm going to give everybody sort of an overview of what I'm going to do. I have it written on a piece of paper right here. So it's
Okay. And the recipe is going to be in the show notes too.
Yeah.
So
it's almost not even a recipe because it's so there's so many different things that you can do to it to suit your tastes, right? And your preferences. So the base of this are potatoes, and I cook the potatoes. I'm going to actually get them and show them to you. They're over here, and my air fryer is over on the other side of the kitchen. And everybody, hold on to your hats when you see how delicious this is. You're going to want to reach into the screen and eat them. So look at how crispy.
Hang on a second. I'm going to put it in full screen so everybody can see.
Look at that.
Oh, wow.
And so the way I'm going to put this over here for now. So the potatoes are the bottom layer. Okay. And the potatoes were, and I encourage you to experiment with seasonings to your liking. For me, these had onion powder, garlic powder, chili powder, and garlic salt. Those were the 4 things that I put on there. And then what I did beforehand, though, was I cut them into the shapes I wanted. I put them into a bowl after I scrubbed them. Then I cut them into the shapes, put them in a bowl with cold water, and just let them hang out for like a couple hours. And then I drained them and I dried them in a towel. And then I put them back in a clean bowl, not the waterlogged bowl. And I added my seasonings. And then I put a plate on top of it and shook it so that the seasonings would really get all over all the potatoes. And then I put them on a parchment paper. You can do it in any air fryer. You can even do it in the oven. You don't have to do it in an air fryer. And I did them 400 degrees for 25 minutes, and that was perfect.
Let's just take a look again, Ellen, at that, because I wanted to show everybody that apparently you're using the Breville air fryer.
Oh, no, I'm not. I have the Breville. This is a Ninja. It's like the Breville. It's a little bit smaller.
Okay. The reason why I was saying that is because I have a Breville, and as an option, I don't know, maybe the Ninja comes with them, but the Breville did not come with those basket type shelves, you know? So
Now I have a Breville in our other house, and mine did come with it, but I still bought after the like on Amazon some barbecue sheets that I can be reused. And so, but this is parchment paper. That's
yeah, I
nice.
meant the basket instead of the wire rack. The Breville doesn't come with the
Okay.
basket. It comes with the wire rack, but you can buy aftermarket baskets for
Right.
things like this, because if you were just using the wire rack on the Breville, it would be kind of tricky to do something like what you were
Yeah.
doing. Yeah.
And I was going to say something else about this. I can't remember. I'll think of it.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what it was. So if you have a smaller one of those bucket type air fryers, you might find that it takes less time to cook them, right? If it's a smaller cavity, it probably will take less time. But what you will have to do is put them in there, and at the 15-minute mark, open it, shake it around, look and see if they're done, and otherwise give it, maybe 3 minutes, 5 minutes more, etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. So the potatoes are going to go, and you know what I'm just going to do? I'm just going to do this a little bit at a time.
Okay. Do you want me to show your other camera now?
Yep. I'm going to put this right here. Okay. So does that work?
Yeah.
There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of them here, and trust me when I'll tell you, I would eat this entire tray. I'm actually going to not do a lot of them because I just want to sort of have it as a snack. But I would normally, if I were having a full meal, I would have the whole bowl would be full. But this will work. Okay, so we have our potatoes. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this refried beans. Now these are this was a can of 365 from Whole Foods. You can get them at Trader Joe's, or you can make them with pinto beans. You can take a can of pinto beans, mash them, and what I did was I water sauteed some red pepper and some onions, and there's also some black olives in here. So I'm going to put it. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it in here, like this, and I am going to cover it, and I'm going to go and heat it, and put it over here.
Okay. And while Ellen is getting that heated up in the microwave, I want to let everybody know that the recipe is going to be in the description on YouTube, and it's also going to be on my website. We do have a no salt version too. So for those of you that are looking to not use salt.
Yes.
So there's ways to do it. And you have a non-air fryer version.
Yes.
So if you don't have an air fryer, you can still make this. So
and I'm going to show you, this is one of the ingredients that I use, which is a cheese sauce. And I spell cheese with, my husband, Michael, says, it's don't call it cheese. It's, it's not dairy. It's based on a plentiful kiki recipe with some sort of modifications. But if you just go and Google, and we can include a link, plentiful kiki, and there's just about a gazillion other recipes for this kind of cheese. I like this.
So is that what you use for the potato nacho?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This Colleen said, wait, potato nacho? How do you make that? So we'll get links to that for you.
This is gold. This is gold. I put it on everything. So it's so good. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this here. About that much. I'm sort of eyeballing it. And I'm going to go get the refried beans. And then I'm going to show you. I'm going to heat the cheese sauce up.
Okay, so tell me in the comments, Green Warrior, do you enjoy making potatoes, and are you afraid of eating them, or are you recently convinced, maybe even by this show, that they're okay to eat? Let me know in the comments. Tell me about that. And like I said, the recipe is going to be in the description on YouTube, and we will have no salt versions as well as the baked version too.
You can see this is steaming. So now I'm going to come over here, and I'm just going to sort of like just going to drop little pieces of it on the potatoes. This. And you want to get it to, you want to have it so that every time you take a potato, there's a little bit of kind of a little bit of everything if you can do that. And it's hot, but it's not burning hot. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Give it one more little like that. Oh, well, I'll just use the whole thing. Okay, and as my mother, may she rest in peace, would have said, don't waste what's left. It should be a total loss. I'll lift the spoon. All right, now, I'm not going to get the cheese sauce yet because I'm going to do some of the others, although I'm going to open it so that it doesn't.
Well, this looks really good so far.
Next, so that was...
and Rick Tano said, she's making me hungry. Well, that's good.
These are hot and sweet jalapenos from Trader Joe's. Some people make them. I'm not that person. I don't make them, but because I love these. So I'm just going to I'm going to show you. I'm going to put this down and show you. I'm just going to take some of these and just kind of spread them like this on that. I like a lot. To me, you can never have enough of them. So that's going to go next. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some, let's see, I'm going to do the salsa next. So I'm going to use the Trader Joe's salsa. And I'm going to use my fork so you can see. I'm just going to sort of put that on like this. Does this not already look fabulous?
Oh, yeah. And that's something I love about this lifestyle is while you're cooking, you can be tasting.
Yes.
And you don't have to worry about cross-contamination or any other, eating something that's not fully cooked.
Right.
And this way you can already have an idea of what it's going to be like before it's done as far as the flavor profile.
Okay, so here's the cheese sauce, which I heated up.
And you put that in the microwave for about a minute, or?
I did 40 seconds.
40 seconds, yeah.
If it's not hot enough, you can do more.
Yeah, better to do less than more.
I'm just going to spread it over here like this. I mean, tell me that that's not something you'd get at a restaurant, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Then I'm going to add some scallions. You can see scallions.
Yeah, so often when my husband's the primary cook of the house, and so often we'll sit down and eat something that he created, and we'll say, I'd eat at that restaurant.
Yeah. Now I'm adding some cilantro that I chopped up.
I just did a recipe demo with a man by the name of Moses, and he added cilantro to the dish, but he did it like this. He bent his elbow and he held the cilantro and he sprinkled it.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
This is my favorite. Yellowbird is my favorite sriracha. I love it, so I'm going to add a little bit of that.
Okay.
And that, my friends, that's it. So,
oh my goodness. Well, let me just put that. Look. See? And we can just eat the whole thing, right?
Yeah. And when I finished it, if I felt like I wasn't done, I would have another one.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. And you're not weighing I'm going to hang on. We'll do this again. Show us again.
I'm going to taste it for
you.
I can't even talk. It's so good.
Oh, that looks so good.
And
yeah,
I would have an equally large size, the same size of broccoli or zucchini or Brussels sprouts or bok choy. And I'd make sure that my belly was full.
Yeah. That's what it should be called. It should be called the full belly lifestyle.
Right. That's so cute. You're absolutely right.
Right?
Full belly lifestyle.
And what a relief, because like you said, you didn't name often, but you did a lot of weighing and measuring before you came across this lifestyle. And they often compare it to your breaths per minute. If you were trying to breathe less breaths per minute, that's kind of what the weighing and measuring is. And eventually you got to breathe, and you can't sustain that weighing and measuring forever.
You
Yeah.
know, I would encourage people, in fact, if anybody wants to in the comments, to think about what else I could add to that. And it will show you the flexibility of a recipe like this, or a preparation. I wouldn't even call it a recipe. It's a preparation. You know, everybody, for the most part, I'm going to just venture a guess here that most people have had nachos.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to a restaurant and you have nachos and they come out with a plate that's just loaded with melted cheese and all that stuff, think about what's in those nachos that you would like. Like, for example, I would have put, if I had room, no, I do have room. Actually, I just didn't think to do it, but I would have put black olives or green olives, capers. You know, I would also, another thing you could do is you could take this plate, and before you load it up with all of this, you could put a whole salad, like a whole bed of spring mix with herbs and tomatoes and cucumbers and, you know, whatever else you want in your salad. And then on top of the salad, you put this.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
make another plate with broccoli,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing. And these things can become leftovers, which can go into the next day's meal.
Exactly.
And you can eat it for breakfast, right? You don't
right.
have to eat oatmeal for breakfast. You could just eat this for breakfast. And Rick
Right.
Tannell said a bean burger. I
Right.
think, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. You could cook your bean burger and then break it up into pieces, and that could go on it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's see. So we have bean burger, olives, capers, green olives, black olives, zucchini, you know, I mean, you could just your heart's delight, like go to town and just make it something that is everybody's going to ooh and ah at, you know. I would serve this to company. I would literally make this. And if I had like 4 people for dinner, myself, my husband, and 2 people, I would actually make a bar, like a potato bar. And I would make sure that I wasn't going to take the potatoes out until they were really done. And then we were going to eat right away so that the potatoes were hot, and then have everybody make their own potato nachos.
Yes, exactly. And that's the fun way to do it. I had Timmery Hagenberger on the show, and she wrote a book called The Foodie Bar Way.
I love
And
that.
this is a way of making meals for people that have, for example, I'm a cilantro person. So if you had that bar out, I probably wouldn't have put the cilantro. I might have maybe put a little bit.
Right.
So, and it's a great way. And this is something to keep in your toolbox. Like you said, Ellen, if you're going to have company over that has not embraced this lifestyle, but you still want them to enjoy your cooking, and you don't want to cook outside of what you're used to making, because I can't do it anymore. I can't cook food that is not aligned with the lifestyle for other people, because I feel like I'm poisoning them.
Right.
You know, and they
Right.
can't do it.
You know, another thing you can do is, if you didn't want to go to the trouble, and I don't think it's trouble, but if you just didn't want to take the time to make the potatoes like this, you could just make baked potatoes. Put a potato in foil if you want, or not. Bake those potatoes and then have a potato bar. So everybody gets a baked potato or more, and give them all these ingredients. You can also, there's a wonderful whole food plant-based guy named Brand New Vegan. His name is Chuck. And he has a recipe for green chili queso, maybe, or sour cream. I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but it is delicious. And I would put that on here too. It's so sparkous.
I like how you talked about just doing it with a baked potato, because earlier we were talking about, if you're trying to promote weight loss, just go with the wet starches. So if you're on that weight loss journey, just don't double bake them or air fry them. Just leave them in that original baked potato state.
And another thing is, when I coach privately like you do, and I teach people not to make recipes, because I think that can be overwhelming. I teach people to make ingredients, to prep ingredients, components. Exactly. It's so easy to open your fridge and go, oh, I think I'll have this, and I think I'll take this, and then you bring them all to the counter and you start putting things together, and before you know it, you have a beautiful bowl. And there's a real, I think there's a real charm to doing that. And it's if you can learn how to do that, it makes life so easy.
Yeah, just always be prepared. Always have something in the refrigerator, even if it's a bag of frozen vegetables in the freezer. Those
Right.
are really
Oh,
important things to have on hand.
yeah. And you know what? I would also tell you this. I'm a snob when it comes to vegetables. In the past, I did not like frozen vegetables, but
Yeah,
here's what I learned. I've learned that not every manufacturer comes up with the same kind of frozen vegetables. For example, I really love broccoli. Like broccoli is my middle name. You've probably heard me
mhm,
mention that a dozen
yeah,
times. I love broccoli. I've had frozen broccoli from a number of different markets. It wasn't until I tasted the Whole Foods 365 brand of frozen
uh-huh,
broccoli, the little broccoli florets, not big ones. I don't know what it is. All I can tell you is that their frozen broccoli, the 365 brand, is now my favorite. I buy the
yeah,
gigantic bag because
yeah.
I can eat in 3 meals. I'm done with that bag.
And that's a good thing to talk about because some people will say, I just don't like broccoli. And I brought up Timmery Hagenberger, she tells people, don't say you don't like it. Just say I have not yet had it in a way that I like it prepared. And
Yes.
sometimes it's just that cheese sauce or whatever, or what you showed us today, that can just make a difference between you
Yeah.
liking something.
Yeah. You could make you could prepare your broccoli in whatever way you wanted to. You could make pasta and you could make cheese sauce like this. And now you can take the pasta, the broccoli, and pour the hot cheese sauce over it. And if you wanted to, who was it? Was it Rick who said a bean burger? You could break
Yeah.
up a bean burger. So now your starch is pasta instead of potato.
Mhm.
And yum, or peas, frozen peas, or something that's great also. And I also will tell you that if you don't have the taste yet for just naked broccoli, try using something like coconut aminos. That have you ever used coconut aminos? Do you use
I
it?
I did when I first adopted the lifestyle, but because it's so high in sodium, I personally don't because I
Right,
can't use it, and my taste buds have neuro adapted, so even the slightest amount of salt, I can
right,
just taste it, so I don't need it, but
right,
sometimes when we're transitioning especially, we need these kinds of things to
right.
help us.
I agree. And also what I learned to do, because I agree with you about it, even though it has less sodium than soy sauce, it still has sodium in it. So what I'll do is I'll water saute the broccoli. No, I'm sorry, I dry saute the broccoli, whether it's frozen or fresh. And when it starts to char, then what I do is I add some water, and I now let the water help to steam the broccoli so it cooks even faster, but not until I see a black kind of a char on the broccoli. And then I take the coconut aminos and just drizzle it, not a lot, over it. So it's mostly water and a little drizzle of the coconut aminos just to kind of get that flavor. And then I cover it with a lid and let it go until it's got the softness that I want. And it's heaven in a plate.
Yeah. Yeah. So you'll go through all kinds of phases and stages with this lifestyle. And when you first adopt it, especially if you're trying to lower your salt intake, you're going to have to just go gradually down
Right.
and do things like this coconut aminos. And then, for me, it's been so long since I've been doing it that, and even a small amount of added salt, I can detect it. So I need to go low just because for me, it'll ruin the meal because I can just detect it. But of course, when I first started, I had no salt beans when I first started, and I actually kind of gagged.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, I'll never be able to do this. But
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
I can eat them right out of the can, and I think they're delicious.
But it's funny how your taste buds change and they
Yeah.
adapt, right? And you'd be surprised at how all of a sudden you taste things like beans out of a can, no salt, and you're like, wow, I never knew a bean could taste so
Yeah.
good. I find that happens a
Exactly.
lot. I'll be eating something and thinking, this is like gourmet.
Mm,
Naked broccoli, gourmet. It doesn't have a stitch of anything on it. So your
yeah.
taste buds really do adapt.
Yeah.
And I can tell you
Absolutely.
that for a fact because my husband, he's not in the kitchen now. He's out doing some lawn work. In the beginning, he would tease and say, "Don't call it cheese sauce." And
Uh,
now, guess what? He asks for it. He
Oh.
didn't like it in the beginning. I think he just had a mental thing that it's not Jesus. But now he literally asks for this. I'm stunned that he asks for it. But it's because his taste buds have adjusted and adapted.
Yeah. And just give yourself time and it'll happen to you too if you just keep going. Absolutely. Well, I wanted to do really quick. I needed to do a drawing today because recently we had on Sid Notter, and she is the author of this book called The Plan A Diet. And she generously donated a copy for a giveaway, which we already did. So you can't enter for this now. But if you go on my blog, begreenwithamy.com, and you subscribe to it, you'll get notifications for future giveaways. But we have all the entries. So we're going to draw for that really quick. So this is always fun for me. So we're going to bring up our wheel, our spinning wheel, and see who it is that is going to win this wonderful prize. So just give me a second. I had that. Okay. And okay, here it is. All right. So now we're going to spin the wheel and see who is going to win this book.
Oh, that's so cute.
Isn't it fun?
Uh-huh.
Well, congratulations, Melanie M. You are the winner of the book from Sid Notter called The Plan A Diet. And I'm going to notify Sid about your contact information, and she'll be getting that copy out to you very soon. Congratulations on that. We had so much fun today. And I really wanted to thank you so much, Ellen. You shared a wonderful story with us and this beautiful recipe demo. So why don't you tell us about what you do and how we can find you?
Absolutely. So I can be found on all the socials. I have a Facebook group. It hasn't been as active, but I'm starting to kind of get more active in it. It's called Ellen's Healthy Kitchen. And it's a group. Okay. There's also a Facebook page as well, but this is a group. So I'm on Instagram, Ellen's Healthy Kitchen. I'm on YouTube, and I encourage people and really invite you to follow me, to subscribe and like and do all the things on all the socials. And if anybody is interested in any private coaching, let me know. I'm happy to teach people how to, there's the guy I'm crazy about. I'm happy to teach people
Can
how.
he say hello?
Can he say hello? Now he has to.
Okay. I mean, if you.
Now you have to come and say hello.
Hello, everybody.
I told them about how you now you ask for this, the cheese sauce. Right? But what did
call
you
it cheese sauce?
Did you hear what he just said? Say it again.
Don't call it cheese sauce.
Well, I want to see him kiss the cook.
Next episode. Next episode.
Blow a kiss. Blow a kiss.
So he and he hasn't completely converted over to whole food plant-based, but he's about 80%. Basically, he eats what I cook. So, but anyway, yeah. So that's, if anybody wants to be privately coached, just let me know. You can reach me at ellenshealthykitchen.com, or I think it'll be in the show notes.
It's going to be in the show notes. Absolutely.
Yeah. I also have 2 ebooks. I'm not sure if I told you about them, Amy. Did I?
You told me about them.
Ebooks. One is called Rise and Shine. It's 20 delicious oatmeal recipes, a combination of hot oatmeal, overnight oats, baked oats, and there's one other category. I can't remember what it is. But in any case, so it's called Rise and Shine. And then I have the Beginner's Plant-Based Pantry, if anybody wants to get started, but they don't really know what to put in their pantry and what to buy. So it's really helpful to go to the supermarket with that list in your hand. And they're both of those are on my store, 50% off. So you can get that either through the Instagram link. If you go to my Instagram bio, I think we'll put it in the show notes.
Yes. It's
and
all going to be in the show notes. Yeah.
And what I really encourage people to do is, if you're kind of on the fence, try it. Dip your toe in. Dip one toe. dip your big toe in. or dip your pinky toe in and just try it, and you will be stunned, I believe, by how fabulous you'll feel. And I also want people to know that it's, like you've said a number of times, it's a journey. I didn't learn how to cook like this overnight. It has taken me the better part of, even now I'm learning, and it's 5 years later. And, but think of, I'm going to be 70. So let's just say the prior 65, well, let's say I didn't really start cooking until I was like 20, but, maybe 40 years of cooking the other way. So you have to give yourself time to learn, to modify, to adjust. And then all of a sudden you're going to be a great cook because you're going to learn all the tricks of the trade. You're going to learn all the hacks.
Yeah. And then you'll find your favorite recipes and just make sure you mark them down either on your electronic device or on a piece of paper or something, and hold on to them, because you'll just have your go-to recipes, your maybe 5 or 10 recipes that you enjoy. And then after a while, you won't need the recipes because you'll just be throwing things in, and it can happen. Just keep going, keep doing that. Absolutely.
Right, exactly.
Well, I really want to thank you, Ellen, for sharing your incredible journey and your delicious recipe with us today. Your story is so inspiring, and as are you. And tell us, what is your final take-home message for our Green Warriors?
My final take-home message is, don't wait. A lot of people wait until they're sick. And then it's harder. Don't wait until you're sick, and start now. And find a mentor, whether it's watching multiple YouTube videos or hiring a health coach or somebody to hold your hand and get you started. But don't wait, because the longer you wait, the longer it's going to take you to find that vibrant health. And this is the most vibrant way of eating.
Yeah, very well said. Green Warrior, tell us, what are you going to remember from today's broadcast? There's so many wonderful tips that Ellen gave, and maybe you're just inspired, and maybe tell us about that in the comments too. I also wanted to thank Jess Boy. She did the promos. She did the countdown. She does so much stuff for us on social media to bring awareness to this channel. And Jess Boys, tell us who's coming up next.
Are you overwhelmed by all the nutrition facts, studies, and tips on your whole food plant-based journey? Join us as Peter Rogers, MD, shares powerful strategies to help you master and retain the essential information for a healthier, smarter lifestyle. Wednesday, August 28th, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, on Be Green with Amy Live.
And Green Warrior, I would like to offer you a thank you, because without you, we wouldn't be here. And I'm so grateful for all of you that chime in on your comments and watch and share. And I really want to thank you for joining us, and your engagement and your support make these discussions meaningful and impactful. And I really hope that you're feeling inspired to take a closer look at your food choices and make some positive changes for your health and well-being. Because remember, every bite we take, even these delicious French fries, is an opportunity to nourish our bodies and become the healthiest versions of ourselves. And as my thank you to you, I invite you to go to my website, begreenwithamy.com/join, and I will send you 5 free whole food plant-based SOS-free recipes of some of my favorite recipes that I would love to share with you. And you'll go ahead and get them, and it'll be a lot of fun. I'll even have some other things in there for you too, some special things to look at. And I want to ask you to all go ahead and stay tuned for some empowering content. Please subscribe to my channel, check out Ellen's social media as well, and share my message with others who can benefit, because together as Green Warriors, we can make a meaningful difference in the world. And I also would like to invite all of you now to go ahead and take your right hand and grab your left shoulder, and take your left hand and grab your right shoulder. Now squeeze, because that's a hug from me to you, from me to you, Ellen. Thank you so much. You were just so fabulous. And I wanted to just spread the word of love and inclusiveness here. And if you would like to join me with Ellen, because she's going to help me do my tagline, and you can type it, go ahead and type it in the comments. Until I see you all again, remember, be strong,
Young,
be well,
hell,
and be green. Bye, Green Warriors, and bye, Ellen. Thank you so much, everybody. It was so fun to have all of you here.
Such a pleasure.
Take care, everybody. Bye.
Now you can listen to Be Green with Amy expert interviews wherever you go. Listen while walking, meal prepping, or traveling. Find Be Green with Amy on Apple, Google, Alexa, Amazon, or virtually anywhere you find podcasts. Be strong, be well, and be green with Be Green with Amy.